All right, welcome to Make a Path Presents. Today, let's talk about The Walking Dead issue 192, Aftermath. And it's the aftermath of issue 191. Now, real quick, this is the standard cover, 192, and then they released a blank sketch variant. For those who don't know, it's fully white. It's a sketch paper all the way around, and it's just the normal cover with that sketch paper. It's thicker, so that way you can have your favorite artist draw on this with marker and whatnot. We actually have some copies left of Doomsday Kingdom issue number 1 in blank sketch. I think we've got 20 left. DoomsdayKingdom.com, just for those interested in that. And the issue 191 was a hot seller, so they released a second printing. It's different by just the colors on top, and then the second printing says second printing right there. Other than that, it's literally the same cover. But my comic shop, I didn't go last month, so they had 2 issues in there, and then they gave me 2 issues of the second printing just to have. I'll likely be doing a giveaway on because I only need 1 second printing. I don't need and that's for a complete collection. If I'm still going for a complete collection now, I don't know. All right, so issue 191, Rick gets clapped, and then in issue 192, we already know that Rick gets shot up. We talked about that yesterday in a video. He gets murked for sure. And then Carl comes in. This is one thing I do want to highlight. Some of the positives, if you dig this story, there's something interesting here. Yet again, it's coming full circle. And again, full circle storytelling used to be one of my favorites. However, it's getting used for everything nowadays. I mean, everything. Maybe I didn't really notice it as much in the past, but nowadays it's literally everything is coming full circle. What do I mean by this? Rick finally dies within the story, and then he turns into a walker. Carl comes into the room and instantly shoots him. He later tells Michonne that he didn't even hesitate, and he talks about an incident that happened when he was younger. Well, if you open, I think it's issue 50, but if you read issue 50, Rick is all weak and wounded from getting shot and escaping the first governor, second governor, hence full circle again. Anyway, the first governor, that attack on the prison. So then Rick reaches out for him, and Carl's like, yeah, I can handle this on my own. But then he breaks down. He says he can't do it, and he's like, just eat me. Oh, God, yada, yada, yada. So Rick is alive. It's a fake out. And it was a good moment for the comic, especially how it was written with little Carl being a badass, taking out some walkers. It was a real good moment. I mean, he's in a certain depression from losing his mother, and then now he lost his father. What else can I highlight as far as some beautiful stuff? I thought no reaction from Michonne or Maggie or anybody was a bit jarring. However, sometimes they do this in comics where they'll hold off, and then during like the 2 or 3 issue funeral for Rick, which it looks like they're going to be doing that, within that funeral they will have the emotional moments between the other characters, and that's because they simply can't fit it all how it should play out. As far as Michonne, she doesn't even act like she lost her best friend or somebody super close to her, so we'll likely see that later. Carl visiting Spencer or Sebastian, it doesn't matter, they're all the same character, but visits him in jail. I know there's going to be a lot of people annoyed about this. One thing I love, though, and this isn't necessarily coming full circle, but it is connecting with something in the past. He tells Sebastian he's going to rot in there. Carl's going to take after his father. He's going to let Sebastian rot in prison, just like Rick let Negan rot in prison. And then when he's leaving, he's like, I'll be seeing you, ta-ta. Now that part I really dig. I was like, oh, okay, I dig that a lot. Here's another nice little part where you got everybody is bouncing and they want to pay their respects to Rick Grimes. Again, this is full of a mixture of things I like and I dislike. about the story coming up. I was really annoyed with the ending here. He essentially pulls a Rick. Kirkman has done this in the past a couple times. That gets a little frustrating, where Rick, in convenient moments, would just pass out. Now, before, one time he was shot and he passed out, and that was like, okay, he was shot, you know? But there's been times where he's perfectly fine and he just passes out, gets overwhelmed. I thought maybe they would put this in there somehow where, you know, he's sick, or I don't know, something causes him to pass out. But Carl kind of gets weak or something, just falls off. And then they do this cliffhanger that I personally don't like, because I think it's just a cliffhanger for the sake of being the last page. And he's like, I can't do this anymore. We've seen it. This is this same thing we've seen with Maggie. She hangs herself in the final page, and then they clear it up a few pages in the next issue, and they move on rather quickly. I really feel like we could have got something different as far as the ending here. I do enjoy the artwork for a lot of this. Some of the parts with Rick, dead Rick, it was still pretty neat. I don't know. Some of it was the stuff people pull from it that they really like. Again, I'm getting some of what they like, those beautiful moments mixed in between. The one thing I find frustrating to discuss is how deflating it can feel. And I think people are getting it mixed up with it needing to be an epic, iconic, badass death. And here's where it's just a play on words. Because if you do it good, no matter what it is, it will be iconic. I keep seeing people say, oh, Rick doesn't need this iconic death. And it's like, what are you on? Did your brain just shut off? And I mean this in the nicest way possible, but if it is good, if it's done good, it will be iconic. If it's done good, it will be badass. Look at Breaking Bad. Walter White had an argument with his wife, his nagging wife. And it turned in an argument with his wife in like his boxer shorts, getting undressed, jumping into a shower. He gets in an argument with his wife, and it's one of the most chilling, iconic, badass moments in TV history. Where he's like, you hear of a guy, someone knocking on a door, a guy opens it, he gets shot, and you think that of me? He's like, nah. You know, I'm the one who knocks. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was expertly crafted and written with the dialogue and the interaction between those two characters. So when I'm talking about this is a bit deflating with Rick's death, I'm not talking he needs to die out on a battlefield, you know, fucking like, I don't know, create the most epic, insane, badass. Like, he gets shot 50 times, but he still saves everybody, and he's just like, I don't know, dragging a wagon of injured children to safety. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Walter White in his fucking underwear in a scene that is iconic and badass because it's done well. I feel like there's a mixture of this that it will definitely split the fan base. I feel like it could have been done a lot better. And I do feel like it was. And this is what frustrates me. In the letter hacks, Kirkman talks about knowing this was coming for like 10 years. He knew at least 5 or so years ago. I was about to say the comic's only been out 10 years. I doubt, I mean, he didn't even know the comic was going to go this long. So I really highly doubt he knew in the very beginning. But let's give him the benefit of the doubt and say like, well, no, comic's been going for like 15 years. So I'm thinking about the show. Yeah, let's say he's been planning it, you know, for 10 years. As somebody who still compliments heavily the writing that I do like from Kirkman. Some of the Whisper War stuff, especially in the beginning, was expertly crafted, putting setups, and then patiently waiting for the slow burn payoffs. Very well, the tension, the suspense, the creepiness, I mean, it was very well done. So there's still parts in Kirkman's storytelling that I do absolutely love and appreciate. When it comes to the killing of Rick Grimes, even though he knew it was coming for 10 years. I feel in some way, shape, or form, he may have realized, oh shit, the end of Compendium, or maybe he just didn't even realize. And again, this is my personal tastes. But oh shit, the ending of Compendium 4 is coming up. I need to hurry up and kill Rick off because this completes his story. 4 books, 4 of these will complete Rick's story. Instead of having Rick die in, partway through Compendium 5, now you can get Rick's story in 4 of these. And it's nice and even because this is the last that will be collected on the last few pages of Compendium 4. You get what I'm saying? And it really strongly feels that way just because of the world building. And the world building, I find, is one of the most important. Imagine if they did proper world building and they added a status quo of other people who profited and were living a prosperous life off of Sebastian and his mother. Because the way it's written, Sebastian and his mother are the only 2 on top. And I'm sorry, but that's so hard to believe. That's so hard to fathom storytelling. It just doesn't fit logically. Where the hell is that Pamela's image? Come on now. Come on. Yeah, right here. It's so hard to fathom. And why is she sitting at her desk too? I don't get that. But that is absolutely hard to sink into my brain that it's just her, Sebastian, the whole army. No one else benefits from the structure. Imagine if they had a group of the rich and wealthy. You can even put some symbolism behind it. Mark it with similar real life stuff. I know in the back, someone asked, matter of fact, in the back, and again, I respectfully have to disagree to this, but in the back, someone even asks Kirkman, almost in my own words. Right here, almost in my own words, someone is like, yo, what about, this arc is so interesting because we're now, yada, yada, yada. Where are her supporters, the elites, who benefit from this system and would try to maintain status quo? I would think there'd be many, many more Pamelas and Sebastians with power, given the size of the Commonwealth. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to establish such a society in the first place. Thoughts? Yet. Now, here's the thing. Objectively, not even like opinion-wise, objectively, this is correct. Objectively, there's no way, there's absolutely no way you can rise without having people in a support structure system. Even Adolf Hitler had his support structure of demented, people with him. And then we get this excuse. And as a writer, I strongly feel like Kirkman should just say, you can say whatever you want to the people, but he strongly should go, yeah, I fucked up. I should just make that better. But then again, when you're rich as shit and you got a huge comic, do you really need to correct your shit? No, it's when you're a has-been and when, people aren't buying your shit. That's when you're like, oh shit, I should have corrected my thing. So I'm saying this as a fan who wants, his craft to be constantly in development for the betterment of the storytelling coming forward with this and his other projects. Anyhow, somebody said, I think this is his editor said, it's perhaps an economic castle system, which is pretty active. I'll be honest, I don't know what a fucking economic castle system is, which is pretty active in American society today. As for why ordinary folk would follow an incompetent leader, and again, I think this is a cop-out. You're sidestepping, and I think this is Sean, his editor, you're sidestepping what the actual point is. And right here he says, I could pour over history books and give you many examples. And then he just says Donald Trump. Donald Trump has a lot of people supporting him because they benefit from him. Like that's an insane argument. I just feel like people go, oh, Donald Trump bad, let's put his name in here. I didn't vote for fucking Trump either, but that's insane. That's a dumbass argument because there's people that benefit from what he does. You know what I'm saying? Mainly himself. Anyhow, but and again, I'll have to look that up. Economic castle system. I have no idea what that is, but here's the point. If it is structured where you got these really rich people and then you got the working class and how that's all set up, You're going to have Pamela, the other lawyers. Michonne's a lawyer. You're going to have those lawyers, those doctors, judges. You're going to have some of these people in positions of power that, and a lot of them would now have that position, what's the word I'm looking for? In danger now. Maybe not all of them. Maybe some of them are cool with it because they're always going to come out no matter what. But you're going to, at 50,000 people, you're going to at least have a few. What about, she's the main governor. What about in your little districts? People running those districts. You guys are just, I've seen towns, little towns that have a population of, 1,600 people have more squabbles and more of a structure than 50,000. And again, I've seen little towns that have like population of 1,200 people in it that have more of a structure than what we've seen in this comic. And I'll shut up about that. The world building is the main thing that pulled me out of it. I think there should have been a hierarchy of maybe some of those townspeople, and it makes it sad because they did it behind Pamela, but in support of Pamela. So she created her own monster, in a sense, and they were the ones who gave him his gun, gave Sebastian his mission. You could have even included more stuff with them, the elites behind the scenes. You know what I'm saying? Like Pamela got all the shit, but the elites behind the scenes, that could have been a whole arc in the story that would have been way better, in my opinion, for the Commonwealth. Not even in my opinion, for me as a fan. I would have loved reading some of those, because now you have a few of those elites you want dead, even though they didn't pull the trigger. You want them dead. You want it revealed. Sebastian doesn't say it's them because he believes they can still break him out. You always have that extra story to fall back on. You always have a group of enemies now. Let's say there's 5 elites or 6 elites, and then you can get it's more rewarding for the fans now because Sebastian stays in jail, but maybe they uncover one of the elites, and again, I don't know. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so here's issue 192. I think it is still a beautiful disaster. There's stuff in here that I think is 50% beautiful. There's stuff in here I think is 50% a disaster. I am a little bit worried because I've been talking to some people who own some comic shops, and recently today, I was told that they normally have, what was it? They normally, I don't want to misquote it, but it's something ridiculous. They normally have like 100 or 120 people putting this on their pull list. I might have messed that up, but I do know what number they have now. 30 people have The Walking Dead on their pull list since the Commonwealth. After the Whispers and with the Whisper story arc, stuff started going downhill. There's only 30 people in my local comic. When I used to go there used to be a stack this high, like 1, 2, 3, 4. There used to be like this whole stack. All the other comics would only have these little stacks. The Walking Dead would be up to here. And they said now they're up to, it's so little. I think when I got there at 10:05, there wasn't even any left on the table for people to pick up extra. Like, that's terrible. That's terrible. And people were buying doubles just because it's, the death issue. Anyhow, I picked up this Rags, which I heard so many people fucking praising Rags. This was god awful. I do like some of the art. Maybe I need to read issues 1, 2, and 3, but 4 was just nothing of. They were just like in a cafeteria, and they kept doing this stupid shit where they're like blocking out her ass with a weird this, and then she takes off her shirts and they put this stupid bunny image over her tits. Bro, even have the balls to show it, or don't even draw it. I hate that shit, man. I don't know why. Like, I kind of feel like maybe the publisher said, oh, you got to cover up the nudity. But I've seen far worse. If it wasn't for my respect for my local comic shop, and if it was just like a comic shop I didn't care about, I would go in there and ask for a refund, because this was just absolutely terrible. I'm going to pick up issue 1, 2, and 3, or maybe look into them. I don't want to give them any money, because this one, nothing happened. They were in a cafeteria, and I guess the action happened earlier and she needed food. It was all about, and then it got to a point where it was like the SJW and the anti-SJW, and they both annoyed the shit out of you. This guy wouldn't shut up about transgenders and attack helicopters, and this girl just kept saying he's a piece of shit. It was probably one of the most obnoxious things. If you're an SJW, get your shit out of comics. If you're an anti-SJW, you do the same. Everyone in the middle who just wants to tell good stories, and then give me a call and I'll support you. Gideon Falls, I picked this book up too. This was highly recommended. When I read this, we'll discuss this because book 1 was actually really interesting. So, and it's got a nice twist to it, it seems. Oblivion Song is another one that I'm on the rocks with right now. The concept is something I am in love with. I think Kirkman had such a good concept, and I think it works for people who, if this fits. Are you falling, cat? What are you doing? If this fits in your wheelhouse, I get it, but I think everything's just too plain with the Oblivion. It's all just mush monsters, and I like a little more, detail and specifics with it. I thought I would really get into it, and they would have more creative monsters and stuff, but yeah, look at that. It's not even detailed. It's just a bunch of, it's just mush. And I want some creative, even these creatures, you don't know what the teeth are. It's, these are legs, I guess, but everything's just mush, Anyway, this had a lot of promise, but I'm starting to get a little wavy on it. The concept is something I do like, but I love the name Oblivion Song. That whole concept is beautiful. I just don't think it's utilized. It's mentioned once, but it's never shown, and I really think that sucks because that's such a gorgeous idea. Creative-wise, oh man, it's right on the money, but fleshed out, it's just not hitting on all cylinders. All right, farewell, Rick. It's at the end of an era, one hell of a ride. Give your thoughts and opinions in that comment box. I'm done talking, so it's your turn. Not Rick's turn, he's dead.